Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Radha Kalachandji ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Ashtapraeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning. Grateful to be here in your saintly association. Today we're continuing the glorious pastime of a great demon who's actually a saint at heart. This is Vritrasura. So if you have your devices, you can pull it up. Canto 6, chapter 12, starting with text 18. So in previous classes, we've heard the battle between Indra and Vritrasura going on. And Indra gets discouraged because although he has a thunderbolt weapon, which was personally ordained to be created by the Supreme Lord himself, and is invested with the power of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and is made with the bones of a pure devotee, Dadichi Muni, still Indra lost faith because he is not a pure devotee, and he didn't have full confidence in the instruction of the Lord. So when Vritrasura had some advantageous moves in the battle, for example, he grabbed Indra's club, smashed Indra's elephant, Indra fell down, and Indra became discouraged. So Vritrasura, to encourage Indra, he spoke some instructions, some philosophical teachings, which we heard yesterday from Vrindasevika Mataji. We heard that everything is actually dependent on Krishna, whether it's success or victory, success or failure, victory or defeat, happiness, sadness, whatever we may experience in life is controlled by the Supreme Lord. And after speaking these encouraging words to Indra, then Indra now is going to respond and glorify Vritrasura. So this is a very sweet section, just a few verses. We'll hear the praise of Indra, Indra's praise that he's giving to Vritrasura. So, text 18. Please, someone read.
Text 18. Shukadeva Goswami said, hearing the straightforward, instructive words of Vritrasura, King Indra praised him, and again took the thunderbolt in his hand. Without bewilderment or duplicity, he then smiled and spoke to Vritrasura as follows.
So we see the quality of Vritrasura's speech is straightforward. This is Vritrasura's speech, right? Because Indra is just about to speak. So Shukadeva Goswami is highlighting the quality of Vritrasura's speech, which is Brahminical, right? A Brahmana speaks straightforward. Krishna says, Shama Damastapa Shocham, Kshantir Arjavam. Kshantir or Arjavam, I can't remember which one. Honesty. Arjavam, yeah, this is the quality of Brahmana. Okay, so now we'll hear Indra's reply.
Indra said, O great demon, I see by your discrimination and endurance in devotional service, despite your dangerous position, that you are a perfect devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul and friend of everyone.
I was thinking it's interesting in this verse, the Sanskrit says, Aho Danava Siddho Si. So, Danava is a demon and the Siddha is perfect. So what does perfection usually look like for a demon or a material? The word demon is pretty strong in English nowadays. I was thinking selfish materialist might be a modern translation we'd be more familiar with. So for a selfish materialist, what's perfection look like? Yeah, Dustin.
Hoarding as much as they can.
Yeah.
An excessive amount of greed.
Greed and, stockpiling wealth, stockpiling possessions, right? Power, money. Yeah, we have that verse, Ishwaroham aham bogi, siddhoaham balavan sukhi. I am the controller, I'm the enjoyer, I'm perfect, I'm powerful, I'm happy. And this is the mind of a demon, according to Krishna. So this is what perfection looks like for a typical asura. But here, what is the perfection for this demon? Is bhakta sarvatmanatmanam suhridam jagadishwaram. That Vritrasura was a perfect devotee. And he was a friend of the friend of all. Yeah, so we have a striking difference in the character of Vritrasura and his external situation being in this monstrous form. Okay, next, text 20, please.
You have surmounted the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu, and because of this liberation, you have given up the demoniac mentality and have attained the position of an exalted devotee.
We'll come back to this verse after we finish.
O Vritrasura, demons are generally conducted by the mode of passion. Therefore, what a great wonder it is that although you are a demon, you have adopted the mentality of a devotee and have fixed your mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, who is always situated in pure goodness.
So we see that from the purports, Indra started to think of the examples of previous devotees who were born in demon families. For example, Prahlad Maharaj, his father was Hiranyakashipu, and also the grandson of Prahlad, Bali Maharaj, both born in a demon family. And so Indra remembered these examples. Okay, it is possible. Others have been devotees, pure devotees, in demon families. Okay, final text.
A person fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord Hari, the Lord of the highest auspiciousness, swims in the ocean of nectar. For him, what is the use of the water in small ditches?
This is an amazing verse. Stephen, can you repeat the same verse? Because it's so beautiful.
A person fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord Hari, the Lord of the highest auspiciousness, swims in the ocean of nectar. For him, what is the use of the water in small ditches?
Thank you. Swims in the ocean of nectar. Okay. Just like Rupa Goswami has this verse glorifying the holy name. Narada vino jivana sudorme niryasa madhuri pura Twam Krishna nama kamam spurame rasane rasena sada. Rupa Goswami says that the holy name of Krishna is like a flood of the sweet waves of nectar. And he says, please may I always taste that sweet flood of nectar on my tongue. And so Indra says that if we fix our mind, if we fix ourselves in the devotional service of Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji, then we will swim in that ocean of nectar. So text 20, we'll do the call and response here. Bhavanatarsheen mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim Yadvihaya suram bhavam Mahapurushatam gata Bhavanatarsheen mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim Yadvihaya suram bhavam Mahapurushatam gataha Bhavanatarsheen mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim Yadvihaya suram bhavam Mahapurushatam gataha. Please recite. Bhavanatarsheen mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim Yadvihaya sarang bhavam Mahapurushatam gata Bhavanatarsheen mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim Yadvihaya suram bhavam Mahapurushatam gataha Bhavanatarsheen mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim Yadvihaya suram bhavam Mahapurushatam gataha. One more. Bhavanatarshin mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim Yadvihaya suram bhavam Purushatam gata. Thank you all. Please read along with me. Bhavan, your good self, Atarshit, has surmounted Mayam, the illusory energy, Vai, indeed, Vaishnavim, of Lord Vishnu, Jana Mohanim, which deludes the mass of people, yet, since, Vihaya, giving up, Asuram, of the demons, Bhavam, the mentality, Mahapurushatam, the position of an exalted devotee, Gata, obtained. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Indra speaking, you have surmounted the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu, and because of this liberation, you have given up the demoniac mentality and have attained the position of an exalted devotee. Can we have a volunteer to read the purport, please?
Lord Vishnu is the Mahapurusha. Therefore, one who becomes a Vaishnava attains the position of Mahapurusha. This position was attained by Maharaj Parikshit. It is said in the Padma Puran that the distinction between a demigod and a demon is that a demigod is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, whereas a demon is just the opposite. Vishnu Bhakta Smrto Daiva Asuras Tad Viparyaya. Vritta Asura was considered a demon, but actually he was more qualified as a devotee, or Mahapurusha. If one somehow becomes a devotee of the Supreme Lord, whatever his position, he can be brought to the position of a perfect person. This is possible if an unalloyed devotee tries to serve the Lord by delivering him in this way. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami says in Srimad Bhagavatam,
we can read together. Kirata hunandra pulinda pulkasha abhira shumbha yavana kasadaya yenyecha papa yadapashraya shraya shuddhyanti tasmai prabha vishnave namaha.
Kiratas, Hunyas, Andras, Pulindas, Pulkasas, Abhiras, Shumbas, Yavanas, and members of the Kasha races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, for He is the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto Him. Anyone can be purified if he takes shelter of a pure devotee and molds his character, according to the pure devotee's direction. Then, even if one is a Kirta, Andra, Pulinda, or whatever, he can be purified and elevated to the position of a Mahapurusha.
Thank you, Dustin.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhavan atarshin mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim yadvihaya sarambhavam mahapurushatam gata. Indra often reveals his undesirable qualities, his anartas. He's publicly humiliated in Srimad Bhagavatam. But we see here the good side of Indra, that he's a devotee and he is appreciating this pure devotee that he's about to kill. He's saying, Bhavan. Bhavan is a respectful address. Your good self. What is he saying about Vritrasura? Atarshin mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim. You have overcome the illusory energy of the Lord, janamohinim, which bewilders everyone. Like Krishna says in the Gita 7:14, Daivihyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. The energy of maya, of illusion in this world is very difficult. It's extremely thick, this illusion, especially in today's age. We are so overwhelmed with the speed of life. I was just hearing a talk from Hridayananda Goswami and gave this beautiful analogy that the pace of life is going so fast right now that it's like a speedboat, right? There's this concept or this occurrence when a boat is moving very fast on water, it begins to hydroplane. Even we experience it when there's some water on the road and you try to brake, you may hydroplane and slide on top of the water. And so this is what's happening in the crazy, insane pace of today's world, is that we start to hydroplane on the surface of life, and we have no capacity to go deep and actually sit and read Srimad Bhagavatam. We have no capacity to sit and chant attentive japa, right? It's very difficult. We're just pushed so much by the intensity of the world's passionate flow. There's so much pressure to work hard and make money, and just to survive is so difficult in today's age, right? Just to have a vehicle, to have a home, and to keep the heating on in the winter, the air conditioning on in the Texas summers. It takes a lot of work just to keep all this together. This is Janamohinim, this is Mayam Janamohinim, the great illusion that is strangling us in this world today. And so to have an opportunity like those of us here in this room to sit and hear Srimad Bhagavatam is so hard to come by. Very few of us in Dallas, even among Kalachandji Dham, very few are able to come and attend this every day because there's so much intensity of material pressure. And it's very difficult to overcome. But Indra is praising Vritrasura that you have overcome it. Atarshin, you've surmounted this great obstacle, this great illusion. Like Krishna says, what's the solution? How do you overcome this obstacle? Daivihesha gunamai, mama maya duratyaya, mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam taranti te. By surrendering to me, then you can overcome this illusion of material energy. And this is the glory of Vritrasura, that he is surrendered to the will of Krishna. He's so surrendered to the will of Krishna that he is ready to die. Although he was just born, right? He's only lived maybe a few hours. And what has his life consisted of? His first meal was the weapons of the demigods. He swallowed them all. And he gave a few Bhagavatam classes. He gave a Bhagavatam class to the demons. And then he gave a Bhagavatam class to who? The demigods first. They're short, maybe a few verses, not exactly a class. And then he just gave a class to Indra. This one was more extended. And he had one arm cut off. He had his weapon destroyed. And this has been his life. A few classes and lost an arm. Now he's about to lose his other arm. And yet he's fully surrendered to Krishna, and he says that, yeah, this is exactly your will. Things are going on perfectly as they should. Yes, cut off my other arm. Great. Yes, cut off my head. I'm ready to go. And we will see shortly the profound consciousness of Vritrasura, how he's dying to die. Oh, I can't wait until I can just leave this monstrous form and go back to Godhead and swim in that ocean of nectar. So his faith in the Lord's plan is exemplary. Because in our lives, things might go slightly astray, and we start to question, right? We have a little health crisis, we have a little family crisis, some difficult relationship, and then we start to question. We start to lose faith, or we start to decrease our intensity of spiritual practice. The contrast is that a pure devotee like Vritrasura doesn't move. They're unshaken despite the most challenging circumstances that arise. And Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse, this beautiful verse from the Gita in his purport to text 19. He says, established, or this is Krishna speaking, established in Krishna consciousness, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. So to be never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty, this is the standard of devotion that we see in Vritrasura. So what if I'm about to be killed? So what if all of my soldiers abandoned me? Right? He's fighting there alone. And everyone is against him. All the great sages, all the great demigods, even Vishnu himself, apparently, is against him. So it's a striking contrast, perhaps, to our consciousness that maybe one person is slightly against me, and then I start to feel a decrease in enthusiasm. Maybe someone speaks harshly to me, and then, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can go on. What to speak of everybody that you know? Imagine your whole community turning against you. I think on occasion about the incredible glories of those devotees who were in the position of spiritual master and had difficulty in their spiritual life, publicly humiliated, and yet went on, had the courage, the humility, the fearlessness to just say, yeah, I'm not perfect, and stand up and keep going, rather than just disappearing. Rameshwar Prabhu specifically gives me such inspiration that although he had some struggle in his spiritual life after being a sannyasi, a guru, he, at a Ratha Yatra, sometime shortly after he had some spiritual difficulty, he was going and approaching everyone and just begging them to forgive him if he had caused them any disturbance in their spiritual life. Because imagine, hundreds or thousands of people are depending on you. And there was a misconception in those days that a guru is always at the level of Prabhupada, just like an eternal associate, never will have any problem in their spiritual life. So people were expecting this of their spiritual master, and he wasn't at that level that they thought. And he had the humility to just say, please forgive me if I've caused any disturbance, because you were depending on me. And then he's gone on even till this day. We were just in Mayapur and we saw Rameshwar Prabhu every morning sitting in Bhagavatam class, attentively hearing, contributing with his great fire of enthusiasm for Srila Prabhupada. So this is the standard that we're hearing, is that although everyone is against you, although you are in a situation where it seems there's no hope, that it would be much easier to just leave, to just run away. Arjuna wanted to just run away from the battlefield. We might be in difficult situations in our lives and we want to just give up. Let me just be alone. Let me just isolate. This is the impersonal tendency we have. So can we go on in spite of greatest difficulty? This is the example that Vritrasura is giving to us. And going on in Indra's glorification, he says, Yad vihayasuram bhavam mahapurushatam gata. Although you have asura bhava, you have the mentality, or the form of a demon, you have become a mahapurusha. You have become an exalted Vaishnava. And Srila Prabhupada highlights in the purport that how do we become a great devotee? Anyone remember? What did Srila Prabhupada say? What's the secret? Stephen, yeah.
Paraphrasing, but to spend time with and mimic the behavior of pure devotees.
Yes.
Something along those lines.
Yes. And he quotes this famous Bhagavatam verse that even people in the lowest social order, the lowest consciousness in human society, even people who are habituated to intense intoxication, intense eating of animals, habituated to these activities which are so degrading to human consciousness, still they can be elevated by taking shelter of the Lord's pure devotees. And there's an amazing story Indradumna Swami tells of this devotee in Paris who was he was a homeless boy living in the bushes nearby the temple. And they were on a morning walk, and this boy came out and kind of jumped at the devotees. And, sorry? They called him Pigpen. Yeah, so he ended up, Srila Prabhupada was there on the morning walk, and he ended up following them back to the temple. And he was so smelly, and they called him Pigpen, which is the name of a character in Charlie Brown, right? That dirty boy, yeah. So he actually received the blessings of Srila Prabhupada because this boy approached Prabhupada. Prabhupada calmed him down. He put his hand on his head. It's all right, my boy. And in that way, he got Srila Prabhupada's blessings. And shortly thereafter, they shaved his head and bathed him, and he was very clean and beautiful. And he actually ended up becoming a great book distributor and apparently a great speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, so imagine, just from homeless, kind of delusional, he couldn't even speak properly. So when he would go and distribute books, all he could say was, Prabhupada saved me, Prabhupada saved me. And he distributed many books in this way. So even someone who is in this kind of madness and living on the street can be elevated to such a high consciousness by the mercy of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. And this opportunity is still available for us. Every day we associate with Srila Prabhupada through his purports, by hearing his words in Srimad Bhagavatam. We are getting the intimate association, Vani. This is the instruction of the spiritual master. And we also have so many wonderful Vaishnavas that we get to discuss Bhagavatam along with. So now, Vritrasura, whose mercy did he receive? Because in this incarnation, he's only been alive for a few hours, maybe a few days, I don't know the timeline, very short time. Is he initiated? No. Was he chanting 16 rounds? No. Was he following the 4 regulative principles? I think so. Though he was killing, he wasn't exactly eating. Though he does eat Indra, we'll see. Very shortly, he will eat Indra, but he doesn't digest him. Indra comes out, so he doesn't break the principles. So, whose mercy did he get? Even Lord Vishnu is cursing him to die. Not cursing, but ordering. So whose mercy does Vritrasura have? What pure devotee? Who? Okay, Shiva. And I was thinking, Narada in his previous life, especially, because and we'll read this in the subsequent chapters. Vritrasura was a great king, Chitraketu, and when he was in great distress, a sage Angira came to him, and later on Narada Muni also came along with Angira. So these two great sages came, and Narada Muni initiated him. And we'll hear the amazing story of how Chitraketu actually came within, I believe it's just a week of his initiation, getting his mantra. He sees Lord Sankarshan, one of the forms of the Lord that was very dear to Chitraketu. And so although he actually saw the Supreme Lord, Sankarshan, he had to take one more birth to finish off his spiritual perfection. Point is, he got the mercy of Narada Muni, this great Vaishnava. And by that, although he's born in this body of a demon, he becomes a Mahapurusha, Indra is saying. Now, I'd like to just read Srila Prabhupada's purport to verse 22, and then we can open up for discussion. And Drishtadyumna, just before bed last night, was reading this, and he said, I've got to read you this, it's so good. So I want to extend that enthusiasm for text 22 purport. If anyone would like to read, please grab the microphone. Yeah, verse one more time and the purport we can read. And please, while we're reading, if there's any points that we've had in this discussion or in this purport that you'd like to discuss, then we'll have 15 minutes for discussion. Just the translation and purport.
A person fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord Hari, the Lord of the highest auspiciousness, swims in the ocean of nectar. For him, what is the use of the water in small ditches? Purport. Vritrasura has formerly prayed, Bhagavatam 6:11-25, Nanaka pristham nacha paramesthyam na sarva bhaumam na rasadhipatyam. I do not want the facilities of happiness on Brahmaloka, Swargaloka, or even Dhruvaloka, not to speak of this earth or the lower planets. I simply want to return home, back to Godhead. This is the determination of a pure devotee. A pure devotee is never attracted to any exalted position within this material world. He simply wants to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like the inhabitants of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, the gopis, Krishna's father and mother, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, Krishna's friends and Krishna's servants. He wants to associate with Krishna's atmosphere of Vrindavan's beauty. These are the highest ambitions of a devotee of Krishna. Devotees of Lord Vishnu may aspire for a position in Vaikuntha Loka, but a devotee of Krishna never aspires even for the facilities of Vaikuntha. He wants to return to Goloka Vrindavan and associate with Lord Krishna in his eternal pastimes. Any material happiness is like water in a ditch, whereas the spiritual happiness eternally enjoyed in the spiritual world is like an ocean of nectar in which a devotee wants to swim.
Thank you. So just to wrap up, we see that even at the lowest level of human consciousness, by the grace of a pure devotee, anyone can be elevated to this position like Vritrasura, where no matter if everyone in your life is against you, everything seems to be going wrong, you can be so enthused. Why? Because, as Srila Prabhupada describes here, you're so excited to go back to Godhead. You want to go swim in that ocean of nectar, and you're constantly meditating on Krishna's eternal associates, and you don't want anything else in the whole world except for that. So that is our challenge, is to develop such an intense desire, even to the point of a greed, lalyam. We need to develop such an intense eagerness for developing Krishna prema and going back to Godhead that we want nothing else. We're not even moved, as Vritrasura says, I don't want anything at all you could possibly give me. I just want you, dear Lord. So, saintly Vaishnavas, please share some reflections, some thoughts. Yes, Anuradha. Can we please pass the microphone? Anuradha is a Bhakti Vaibhava scholar.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. I just want to know which verse that you read the last.
This is text 22, 6:12:22.
6:22. Okay. What a wonderful class, bro. It was really a discussion. I was feeling, and like it's amazing. Like we are doing the same thing with Gaurang Darshan Prabhu as well. And the point, what got my mind, I wanted to sit and discuss is like when you said Arjuna wanted to run away too. I was thinking he wanted to run away from his Varnashram dharma, but not from Krishna. So he was still asking for Krishna's approval. Can I leave my Varnashram dharma? But he was still following his Bhagavata dharma very wonderfully because he didn't leave the hand of Krishna. And Krishna says one who practices bhakti, even if he temporarily and coincidentally falls down, he will quickly come back to his position because he never gave up the Bhagavata dharma or Krishna consciousness. And as you have mentioned wonderfully about Rameshwar Prabhu, I mean, I know a little bit of history, but not that he went and begged for forgiveness. And what a wonderful example you have brought, and so much of inspiration for us. And we see Chaitanya Charitamrita when Rai Ramananda was going on saying he started with Varnashram and Mahaprabhu won't give up till it goes to Madhurya. And though of course Varnashram is so important, but the ultimate dharma for us is Bhagavad Dharma, and that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Parityaja. I don't know if my thoughts are coherent, but when the moment you said Arjuna was ready to leave his dharma, and I was thinking he was ready to give a Varnashrama. He didn't want to be a Kshatriya, he didn't want to do all that, but he was still with Krishna and he was still friends with Krishna. So I was thinking if we can have that spirit, like, I mean, not that leave Varnashram dharma, but, but be so, as like you were saying, lolium, have so much of greed for Krishna, and no matter what, I'm not going to leave him. Like whether it is live or Rakhovi Maravi, Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, whether I live or I die, it got to be with you. That's what I was thinking. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
Krishna.
Yeah, it reminds me of a point that we heard from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu also, that what was Arjuna's situation? Krishna was telling him, you're going to achieve victory and opulence and win the kingdom, and it'll be so many wonderful things externally. What's Vritrasura's situation? The Lord is saying, you're going to die. You're going to lose everything. Everyone will abandon you, and then you'll die. So, yeah, when God himself is saying, yeah, you're going to win and so much opulence, okay, I think I can follow your plan. But if the Lord's plan for us is our project will fail, our family will abandon us, we'll lose all our money, and then we'll die, will we say, Jai, Krishna, thank you. All right, Kalachandji, sounds great. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Yeah, I was just thinking that's what pure devotion is. No matter what your externals are, but you're always connected to Krishna is what decides. Not like how wonderfully I'm doing everything and everybody is saying, wow, Jai, Jai, Jai. But then even if nobody is saying Jai for me, but I'm still doing it for Krishna is what makes one a pure devotee. Just one point that, we often say, I'm not a pure devotee. If I do something wrong and somebody says, oh, how can you be angry? You're doing devotional, you are into this path of devotion, spirituality, and then the quick answer, at least for me, is, I'm not a pure devotee. So I asked this wonderful scholar, his name is Balaram Shakti Prabhu, wonderful god brother of Gaurang Darshan Prabhu, and he said that even if we are not pure devotees, but we are on the path of pure devotion. So, it does not disqualify us from pure devotion, even if we are doing so many. I think Gaurang Darshan Prabhu also often says that it does not, take us off the realm of pure devotion. So, being connected to Krishna is what defines our purity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, at any moment we can practice pure devotional service. Just the difference between us and a perfected pure devotee is they're always doing that.
Yes.
We sometimes are acting purely. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Ratna Gopi.
Hare Krishna. So I had a similar reflection. In part of this purport, he talks about how he doesn't want any material benediction, even though he's technically playing the role of a demon, which is like an excess materialist. He just wants to go back to Godhead. And I was reflecting on, because he's playing the role of the demon, he doesn't have the mercy of as many associations with pure devotees around him. It's actually very lonely that he's all alone praying this. And yet it doesn't seem that he's lamenting this condition. Actually, for me personally, one of my biggest fears is being like totally alone. So it's like very hard hitting to me that he is totally alone, but he's like, I just want to go be with Krishna. Like it's encouraging that mood in him, and I think that's really beautiful. And I was wondering, on the path to pure devotion, there's some feelings like this, like fear of being alone. Is it a requirement? Do you feel it's necessary we work through these feelings, or is it just we focus on Krishna and barrel through it, or how to tell?
Yeah, that's a good question. Do we separately deal with our emotional issues, our anartas, or do we just full-on devotional service and ignore those things and they'll get purified? I don't feel so qualified. I feel like others should answer this question on how should we deal with this. I can share some reflections, but if anyone would like to, should we deal with our emotional issues, or should we just full-on practice devotional service and not worry about it? Yeah, Drishtadumna. Can you speak in the mic, please?
Well, I don't have much to say. I just thought perhaps it's both, it's not black and white, but some things you ignore and then some things you deal with. But anyways, I'd like to hear other devotees, what they have to share.
Yeah, of course, there's that verse, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana, sarvair gunais tatra samasate sura, that by practicing bhakti, you automatically develop all the good qualities of the demigods. So, from this, we can say, yeah, just practice devotional service. Don't worry about your emotional issues, and they'll get purified away. And that's true. Perhaps for some, it's helpful and maybe even necessary to separately, like some devotees will go to therapy. Some devotees have such disturbed mental states, or even their brains, that some take some medication in order to keep their brain working properly so they can practice their devotional service. So, depends on the individual. Yeah. Daniel, you have a point?
Okay, so the question is, should we ignore our emotions and only do devotional service?
Okay, so you weren't saying should we do one or the other. You're saying we should deal with our emotions, but how do we know when we should separately go into them versus just ignoring them and practicing? Like, we might be feeling really disturbed one day. Should I stop and should I journal about it? Should I call a mentor? Or should I let me just sweep the floor and just forget about this disturbance in my heart, right? Okay.
I have my own thoughts on that, and they could be wrong, but from my experience, when an emotional disturbance is catching me like a hook, then it is something that needs to be addressed, and because it is stealing my bhakti, it is stealing my attention from Krishna. And another thing is, I believe that we are called to love each other, and loving each other means that when our emotional disturbances are affecting each other, or are possibly affecting each other in ways that we don't see because we're too busy trying not to look at it, it's very important, I think, to show Krishna's love and show other devotees' love and people in general, by being willing to sit through hard emotions and doing a kind of inventory of here's where this is, how am I affecting you, how am I stealing your attention from your bhakti, and how can I do better and support you as a devotee.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this point of if we're causing a disturbance to someone else, then we need to take stock, take inventory, you said, and I've found it very productive to sit down together with another devotee when there's some conflict. And in most cases, they're sincere and willing to work through something, and then we actually grow closer as a result of that exchange, where we can openly communicate and humbly admit, yeah, I'm not perfect, and please forgive me, and I'm trying to work on this. I find also that Krishna arranges specific individuals in my life that I live with or work with very closely who are very different than me. because I have something to learn. Because I'm a little extreme maybe on one side, maybe they're a little extreme on the other side. And Krishna's trying to balance us both by bringing us together. And also I was thinking that if we're disturbed in our own spiritual practice consistently because of some issue, maybe that's an indication we need to stop and work through it. But maybe there's some little things like, okay, I'm feeling a little sad today, but it's not a big deal. I'll just go on with my service, and then it goes away. But if it's consistently coming up again and again, maybe that's a sign from Krishna that you need more association. You need to actually slow down and do a little less external service and just sit with devotees and share your heart. Do some kirtan, read with devotees, sit together. Maybe, right? Yeah. Thank you, Daniel, for helping us. Yes, Ratna.
So something you said reminded me of something my spiritual master has told me on the subject, which is, he said, basically you have to deal with what's right in front of you. And kind of quoting somebody who mentioned, like Krishna says, what can repression accomplish? So we don't repress anything, but we deal with what's in front of us, and yet we also can't neglect our duty for what is essentially like Maya, conditioning, things like that. So some sort of balance. And I love what you said about like addressing needs, and I really appreciated what Daniel said of like, we just have to be willing to do the work that's required. Mm-hmm. It's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, and also the point of balance is important. Like sometimes we'll get so into these kind of emotional conversations that will stop everything, any little disturbance. Like Drisha and I were laughing at this, like any little thing that might go wrong that we have to, I was talking with Petita Pavana, my friend in Houston. He was kind of laughing at me because I was doing this. I was like being a little vulnerable and working through some emotional thing I was going through. He was kind of laughing at me like, Prabhu, are we going to like do this every time? There's some little issue. We're going to stop everything and work through your thing. So there's some balance we need to find. Yeah. Yeah, Drishna. And then Daniel, and then we'll wrap up.
Something I was thinking about is the feelings, the emotions when they cause distress to other devotees in ways that maybe we can't see or aren't willing to look at, but then we do become willing to look at because we have more prema and realize that is our duty to love each other too, and is also just an honor. And I think the ruptures, from my experience, the ruptures in relationships are really, really planned perfectly to show me what is keeping me from my bhakti, what is keeping me from my relationship with Krishna and becoming closer to him, because the thing that is riling me up about another person is the thing that is stuck in my foot.
Thank you so much. Yes. Very nice. So we shouldn't neglect the little things, and especially we should see that in others that we have some difficulty with, there's probably something that they're reflecting in our own heart that we need to work through. Yes, Nanda Braj Prabhu.
What a wonderful question. Ratna Gopi, right?
Ratna Gopi, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this really is the importance in having a mentor that's close to us, that knows our disposition and knows the situation that we're in. So we have, of course, these general teachings that we can take and apply in our life. For instance, we chant Hare Krishna, and 16 rounds, we go to morning program, we can be very confident that Krishna will reveal how to move forward. But how does he reveal it? Does he reveal it through our mentorships, or does he spark something in our heart? So it's a very individual thing, but it's really important that we have somebody close to us. Rupa Goswami says this in the Nectar of Instruction, that we live in the holy dham and we serve under the guidance of the devotees. And this serving under the guidance of devotees is the person who knows you, knows your personal situation and stuff, and then they can give you direction. And that sometimes that person will be like, you're tripping. Relax. And be like, nah, this is important. Let's get some tools that we can use to help through that. So
Thank you, Nanda Braj Prabhu. So what time do we close off? Maybe 8:35? Is that the standard closure time? Okay. So we'll have a quick final question.
Sure. Not sure how quick it is, but I was wondering, so we were talking about Krishna being pleased with us, or it was on Mother Anuradha's point, kind of. And I was wondering, in this case, Vritrasura, he's in this, demon body, and he's, the devotees are kind of against him, and it seems that, even Krishna's like against him and things like that. So I was wondering, how do we know when Krishna is pleased with us? And, sometimes I find that I'm really struggling, I'm really like having a hard time like chanting properly or things like that. And so is this struggling like a natural part of just bhakti, or is it like Krishna's displeased with me and that's why I'm struggling? Or I'm sure it's not black and white. Or is Krishna displeased because I am struggling? He is displeased with me. Or is he pleased I'm just surviving? I guess it'll vary, but perhaps you have some.
How do we know if Krishna is pleased with us, and is the struggle indicative that Krishna is displeased? And I don't think, give a complete balanced answer, but one thing that helps me is to understand that if the devotees around me are happy with me, if I feel satisfied in my devotional service, then that probably indicates Krishna is pleased with my service. And we also can ask this to some mentor who knows us well, like Nanda Braj Prabhu was saying, and they can help us understand if we are in the right attitude, if we're pleasing Krishna with our service. Of course, if we are engaging in prajalpa and especially criticizing devotees, then we can be certain Krishna is not pleased. We don't need a mentor to tell us that. If we're ever negatively speaking or criticizing devotees, 100% Krishna is not pleased. But if we're avoiding that behavior, then if the devotees around us, if our mentors indicate that we're pleasing Krishna, then we can be satisfied in that. We can discuss more over breakfast. Thank you all so much for your kind attention. May we remember the example of Vritrasura and strive to become like him one day. Vritrasura ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.